Hey guys, it's Elena. I am coming to you with the third installment of my Paris vlog series. I'm so excited to share with you guys all of the adventures that I have been on. If you haven't watched my other two vlogs, I'll make sure to link them up above here for your viewing consideration, and I'll also put a subscribe link somewhere here for you guys to consider subscribing to my channel, which I would absolutely love. Also, I'll put my handles for Instagram and Snapchat somewhere up here as well, because I have been chronicling all of my adventures and my entire summer here in France for all of you guys through those platforms. And so make sure to follow me on there if you like this kind of stuff, because it's been, I think, pretty hilarious. But I hope that you guys think that as well. So yeah, all that information will be here, but I do want to share with you the adventures that I have been on over the last week and a half. And so yeah, let's get straight to it. So one of the adventures that I got to go on while I was here is visiting Montmartre. I know that I'm pronouncing that horribly. My French is non-existent, and I pronounce everything with an accent, including the neighborhood that I live in, and nobody understands me ever, but I'm trying. But there's a part of Paris called Montmartre, and it has this amazing cathedral, the Sacred Heart Cathedral, which in French is pronounced Sacre Coeur. Oh my god. Anyways, but I got to go. I went to mass there. It was a Friday, and I went to mass in the middle of the afternoon, and then I got to kind of explore the church. It is such a stunning church. It sits on top of a hill, so it has the most breathtaking views of Paris, just from the most perfect viewpoint, and you can see everything. You can see the Eiffel Tower, you can see, you can see the architecture of Paris. It's such an amazing view, and if you're ever visiting Paris, I highly recommend you check it out. But in addition to that, you can pay a small fee to the cathedral and go up 300 stone steps to see the very top, kind of like the bell tower, and see an even more amazing view of the city. Now, I will say this, going up sucks, obviously, because it's 300 steps. Just climbed 180 stairs. Here's this. There's about to be a lot more. Going down is terrifying. So I have to go down this scary ass staircase, like so scary. It's so steep, it's so tight, like that's wall, that's wall, that's ceiling, that's floor. And there's like no handrails. I'm like scared out of my fucking mind. And coming up was scary, but it was more exhausting. And now this is just like scary. Oh my god, guys. And it's like all like stone, so if you fall, like you're dead. Oh my god. There's like 300 steps, that's what they said, 300. God, help me. I'm in a church. Because they are stone steps, and there's so many people that have walked on them that basically they've kind of like worn out, and they're all super slippery and like scary and narrow, and the ceiling comes down super low. Like, I'm not that tall, but the ceiling comes down so low on these damn staircases, and I was like, I cannot believe I just paid money to do this, because it was terrifying. Like, I was like, I'm gonna fall, that's how it ends, oh my god, I'm gonna like tumble down a bunch of stone steps and nobody's gonna find my like dead corpse like mangled on like one of the like swirlies. Nevertheless, it was totally worth it, because the view was stunning and I got to take some awesome pictures, and I had just such an amazing time. Like, the church was so beautiful. I go to mass every Sunday at Notre Dame, which is the closest cathedral to where I'm staying in Marais. And so I go to that mass, and they don't have nuns that sit up, during the mass with the father, but at the Sacred Heart Cathedral they do, and so it was a different experience for me, and it was quite lovely. And I felt that most of the people that were attending the mass were more locals than they were tourists. Don't get me wrong, there was plenty of tourists, but I attend the international mass at Notre Dame, and that one is all in, like, it's basically all tourists, basically. And so I got to have a little bit more of like a of an experience, basically. And so yeah, I had such a great time. I highly recommend it. After I finished going up all 300 steps and then coming down all 300 steps and surviving it, I'm a survivor, I treated myself to a patisserie, a boulangerie that I discovered just down the street, and it was so yummy and so good. And I have just been having a field day eating everything in this amazing city because the food is, I can't. It's the best. But yeah, so I got to have a little treat after all of that hard work as well. One of my favorite hotels here in Paris is the Four Seasons, and part of the reason why it's one of my favorite hotels is because the florist that they have come and do all the florals for the hotel is actually a florist based out of LA, and he does some of the most amazing floral designs, and he comes out to Paris every so often to change everything up at the Four Seasons. That's just right off of Avenue Montaigne, right off of the Champs-Elysees here in Paris. And so I go there, and it doesn't cost anything. You just like walk into the lobby, and the floral displays are so breathtaking. I mean, they're taller than most people. They have beautiful types of flowers and colors, and it is just like you walk in and the smell and the visual just knocks you off your feet, quite frankly, and I can't get enough of it. So I have made 2 trips to the Four Seasons during my stay here in Paris already, and one of the times I treated myself to an afternoon tea, like a traditional tea setting, and so I got all the snacks, I got a glass of champagne, and I got to have some amazing peppermint tea from the Four Seasons, and it was so delicious and it was so lovely. And while I was there, this was pretty cool. There was about 4 gentlemen from Africa. I knew they were from Africa because they were wearing the traditional like African like clothing, like with the prints and stuff, and like the fabric. Excuse me, I'm totally uneducated on what it's called, but so they were wearing that, and they like, I mean, the colors were amazing, and they like looked really like sophisticated. And then with them, each one of them had a set of bodyguards like with them. They were also having tea at the Four Seasons, and I think that they were guests of the hotel. And so they were each having they had 2 bodyguards, and each one of the gentlemen, with the African gentleman, had a suitcase handcuffed to their hand. I'm thinking that they were like diamond dealers or something of that nature, because I don't know why else, or like maybe they just had like a ton of cash on them. I don't know. Like, I don't know why else you would handcuff a suitcase, like a briefcase, to your hand. Like they were like metal shiny ones, like James Bond status. And so I was like, I hope I'm not in danger, 1, and 2, I could not believe that I was getting to witness like that, because I don't know, I just thought it was like so cool, like but it all happened while I was at the Four Seasons. I love, love, love vintage shopping here in Paris. It is one of my favorite things to do in the world. I love it so much because they really have standout pieces. They do a really good job kind of curating. I think a lot of times vintage stores can be really overwhelming, but a lot of the vintage stores here, they do a really good job of curating pieces, giving them to you at a really affordable rate. And one of my favorite vintage stores is called Free Star People. I'll put it up here somewhere for you guys to see, but it's just about a block or 2 from my apartment that I have here in Paris. And so I would go and peruse, but then I finally took the plunge and I bought a few pieces while I was there shopping. One of them was a faux fur coat, or I'm pretty sure it was faux fur, because the way that the man explained it to me was that it wasn't real and the price was really affordable. It's either vintage fur or faux fur. Unfortunately, I'm not 100% sure because my language skills were a barrier in getting the explanation for them, but the price was really low, so it makes me think that it was a faux fur piece, because he had other real fur pieces there that were substantially more expensive. And so I got that, and I also got this amazing military jacket. One of the great things about this particular vintage store is that they carry like French military like surplus like wear and whatnot, and the French military jackets look very Balmain-y, but it was only 10 euros. So I picked up one of those jackets as well, and I'll make sure to show you those pieces pieces during my haul video where I'll show you all the pieces that I picked up while I was here in Paris. But yeah, so I had an amazing time. They actually have two stores. One is on one side and the other one is the other side of the street. So they're basically right across the street from each other. And they have in their window displays, they have like literally, it's like piles in like these glass cases. It's just like stacked like sand of vintage Chanel, Hermes, Dior, Gucci, like vintage bags and scarves, like all stacked on top of each other. The visual, and like I always ask, I was like, you don't want to sell me these? And he's like, no, they're display. I'm like, what a waste. But it actually, together, the way that they're stacked, it kind of makes like a cool look and like a cool design. And don't get me wrong, this vintage store is overwhelming as well because there is so much stuff in there, but I don't know, there's something about it. Maybe it's because I'm in France. I don't feel as overwhelmed when I shop at this particular vintage store. But yeah, you should definitely check it out if you're ever in Paris. It's an awesome store. I think they have a website, so I will link it down below for you guys to see where it's located if you're ever planning on venturing out to this part of the world. So right across the street from my apartment is this modern art museum here in Paris called the Pompidou. Pompidou? Pompidou. I'm trying, guys. And it's a modern art museum and it's huge. It is massive. It is like one of the biggest museums I've ever been to. I was there for 7 hours and I only got through half of it. That's how big it is. And it is literally right across the street from my house. Like I can like walk out my door and it is like right in front of my face. And so I was really excited to check it out because one of my cousins told me it was her favorite museum in Paris. And I will say this, I think it's an awesome museum, but I am not a huge modern art fan. I don't really get it. I'm not like sophisticated enough or whatever, but like one of the displays that they had was like a shower head like attached to the wall. Okay, like I don't understand how that's art, but I regress because I know a lot of people really appreciate modern art. I just am not one of those people, and so I try really hard to spend a lot of time trying to absorb as much as I can so that I can maybe get a better understanding of where the artists are coming from. But one of the best things about this museum, despite my inadequacies when it comes to modern art, is the view. You take the escalators all the way up to the top of the Pompidou and you see everything in Paris, and it is amazing. And that view it's included with your price of admission to the museum, and it is just phenomenal. Like you see everything, and so I was up there just taking it all in and getting such an amazing like experience because you can see like literally, like it was the best view I've ever had in Paris, and even better than the Sacred Heart Cathedral, like even better. So basically, I took in all the view, and then I went to a special exhibit that they were having that was based for beatniks. It was based on the beatnik era, so it talked a lot about the 60s and the 70s and kind of that revolution, the sexual revolution, and the protests against war and the Vietnam War and a lot of that. And there was a lot of art that was created during that time, including like a visual of Bob Dylan, and I think Bob Dylan used to be so cute when he was like in his heyday and young, and so they had like this big kind of projection of him with like his song and his videos and stuff, and so I got a really good kick out of that. And it talked a lot about San Francisco, talked a lot about New York and Paris and how London and how those cities kind of contributed to this movement, and so I loved it. I thought that was the best part of the museum for me, and I probably spent about 3 hours in that part of the museum because there was just so much to take in and so much to see, and so I had such a great time and just seeing everything. And like like when you're in like a really good exhibit and it's curated really well, like time just flies, and so I managed to spend a good chunk of time. They even had some artworks by Mexicans from Mexico and like how Mexico took place during this movement, and so that was really interesting because I didn't know that, and so I was like really taking it all in, and I just loved it, absolutely loved it. Some of the kind of Pompidou's own exhibits, like in-house exhibits, I wasn't too big of a fan of. There was one piece of art that I saw that I was just like, this is the most amazing thing. It was really a modern painting, but it was of a man dressed in kind of like more antique-y ways. I don't know how to describe it, but like more like 1800 early 1900s fashions, and he's standing on a balcony kind of, and in the background you see the Eiffel Tower, but the art is done in like just a very kind of like Picasso-y kind of way. Great, good job describing art, Elena. But it was just really well, and it just spoke to me in a way, and I just loved it so, so much. So I looked for a print of it in the gift shop, and unfortunately I didn't find one, but hopefully I'll be able to find one online, because I really did love this particular painting. It was one of my favorite pieces I've ever seen in any museum, because I just love the way that it kind of grasped both worlds and brought them together. I really just loved it. Loved it. Every year Chanel does their show at the Grand Palace here in Paris. It is this beautiful piece of architecture with glass ceilings. It is just visually and stunning, and if you've ever watched any of the Chanel runway shows, you can see how well the entire show is lit because of this particular venue space. And I wanted so badly to go and see it, and so I made a day of it, and I was like, I'm going to the Grand Palace. I am so excited. And I get there, and it is completely closed. Nobody's allowed in. And so I asked one of the girls that works in the Grand Palace, you know, like, what's going on? Like, why can't I go hang out with Uncle Carl? Like, I don't get it. And she's like, it actually only opens up to the public 4 times a year, and this is not one of them. And the Chanel shows don't count because those are definitely not open to the public. I'll be. But yeah, so mostly it's just rented out as a venue space, and so I was like so upset, and I was like, no. But I did get to go across the street to the Petite Palace, which is the smaller version, I guess. It's not as grand by any means, and it doesn't have the amazing ceiling that the Grand Palace has, but it does host a museum with a lot of amazing pieces of art, a lot of sculptures, and a really cute cafe. So I ventured around there. I did the audio tour, and I took in as much as I could, and just really enjoyed what they had to offer. It is one of the things about Paris is that most of the museums are actually held within their own pieces of art. Like the Louvre used to be a palace, you know, and like now it houses art. So like while you are soaking in all the history that the art has to offer, the architecture and the actual like building that you're in also hosts a lot of history, and so you're kind of getting it from everywhere, and it can be very overwhelming. This is true. But in this particular sense, I think that they did a really good job curating it, so I didn't feel too overwhelmed, and I just loved it. I thought it was such a beautiful museum, and I highly recommend all of you guys check it out if you ever come here. I don't think I paid anything to go into it. Like, I think that the ticket was free, but I did pay for the audio guide. So I mean, something to consider while you're there. But yeah, so I had such a good time at that museum, and it also has a really beautiful garden, so that was really nice. I love the gardens here in Paris so much. But yeah, so I had a really great time at the Petite Palace. So that's basically everything that I've been getting done in the last week and a half. I have enjoyed every moment of it. Paris has become home to me, and I just love it here so much. I need to figure out a way how to live here forever and ever. Hopefully you guys are enjoying my adventures as well. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow me on Instagram and Snapchat. Lame self-promotion right there. I will put everything up here if it's not already up there for your viewing consideration or for your clicking or whatever. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I love you guys so much. You guys have given me such great recommendations for my time here in Paris, and you've also just been so supportive of me, like commenting on my Snapchats and on my Instagrams, and you guys are just the best, and I love you guys so much. So yeah, love you guys. Bye.